Welcome to our video for today. I'm going to show you how I made this knife sheath for a coworker of mine. Now most of this footage came from back in July and August. It's just taken me a little bit of time to put it together. I'm also working on a Halloween costume for this Friday, and I am working on updating my Mandalorian Mercs costume, so that footage will be coming shortly. But without keeping you guys waiting any longer, let's go ahead and get started. So here is that sheath that my coworker wanted me to remake. I'm not sure how expensive the blade was, but he took the time to put a nice edge on it, so I figured the least I could do was help him get at least a quality sheath. This is some kind of synthetic material with some orange thread, just a regular sewing thread. You can also see on the back that belt loop has a brad fixing it to the back of the sheath, and there's some kind of particle board or something there on the welt. But we're going to go ahead and take a sharp blade, start popping these these stitches, and you can see it. Once you get one or two, it will just pull apart. But you might have to go back in and cut it a few times. Also, I did have to salvage some of the best material or some of the best footage for this build, because I didn't realize that my camera was blurred quite often during this breakdown. But again, we're just going to go ahead and remove those stitches because we need to make a pattern from this piece. So we want to save as many of the original parts as possible. You can also see on the inside of that synthetic material there was a plastic liner. So we're going to go ahead and, like I said, make him a quality sheath out of leather. So once we have all the threads removed, we're going to go ahead and take this apart one last time and trace over it. And you can see it's kind of a very flimsy material, and he had two of these knives, and the other sheath that he had when he was out, he rides horses with his friends and family on weekends, and it's kind of a utility blade that he keeps on his belt. When he tried to reach for it, it snapped the belt loop. So again, we're going to salvage all pieces that we can and trace these onto some cardboard and make a pattern for our leather sheath. You can see this. Here's that welt that will allow the blade to fit snugly into the sheath once it is wet molded. Go ahead and mark these pieces before you transfer them to leather, just so you know where they will line up. You might want to also give yourself a little extra on that welt. And I'll be using some veg tan leather. This is an old piece I have, and you can see here I've already gotten it wet, and I'm tracing a stitch line. The audio in the back is my fiance listening to TV, and we like watching Midsummer Murders. And you can see here I'm going to go ahead and add some decorative, I guess, prints. I've never really tooled leather before. This is my first time. These are some of my grandfather's tools. My grandfather was a leather worker, and my uncle as well. And during a visit back to see family in Texas, my aunt was able to give me my uncle's tools. So just trying to take advantage of these techniques. Like I said, I've never done this before, but I wanted to give the leather a little bit of a design before I dyed it, just to give that extra bit of effort. As you can see here, I've also drawn a line down the back. We're going to skive that just so we can fold it. But before we do that, we also have to mark our stitch line. So I'm going to take the original piece, adjust my wing dividers so I can get the exact same stitch line, and then I'll measure that, and you can see here it is right about 4 millimeters. So again, just trying to copy the original pattern as much as possible. You want to take your time on this because you are digging into the grain of the leather, so you will be marking it up. So you want to make sure that you don't rush this. Again, taking your time, lining everything up. And this is also going to determine where your stitching chisels, their pricking irons, are going to line up so that you can actually hammer through to make those stitching holes. So I've got my edge beveler here. We're going to round over that edge of the leather, that sharp edge. And this will make it easy when we get to burnishing the edges. I want to make that a smooth and shiny edge. And again, rounding over this sharp edge of the grain will help us do that. And we'll go through various sandings. You'll see that at the end of the video. Also, you want to try to keep these edge bevelers as sharp as possible. There are plenty of videos online showing people sharpening these edge bevelers. So we're almost ready to start wet molding. I didn't show you guys where I marked my pricking irons, and I didn't go all the way through. I'm just marking the spot where I wanted to sew. And then you can see here I took a French beveler and carved out a slight groove just to make it a little easier to bend this leather over so that we can wet mold it. Also, we listened to quite a lot of different YouTube personalities, so you might be able to hear some folks in the very, very background television coming from the other room. But again, we want to mark this so that we can wrap that around our knife. But before we do that, we are going to add some of this tokonal to the inside, the flesh side of the sheath here. And I want to put this at the very top because that's the side that's going to get the most usage. That's where the handle of the knife is going to rub up against. It's also going to be the one closest to the elements as far as if there's rain, dust, grime, hand oils, things like that. So we want to protect that as much as possible. And this will help harden up and also smooth down the inside of the sheath. And again, this is the grain side, the fuzzy side. If you have a rounded piece of glass, you can actually burnish the insides. I like using the rounded glass on flat pieces of leather when you're trying to, again, just push down all of those grain fibers on the inside. So once we've got that all smoothed out, we're going to rub that in. You can see some of it got on the top edge. That'll be okay. We're still going to burnish that later. But we're going to go ahead and let this dry for a little bit and then buff that out. And this one, I'm just using my finger to buff that out. That's all you truly need to seal that in. And again, you can see I have a little bit of a blur. I apologize about that. My f-stop on my camera was off. So I'm, again, using two angles to show you how we did this. And I'm actually happy I did. These top views are much, much clearer. So you can see I've already added a little bit of moisture to the leather. So we're getting ready to bend this. You can also see that we're going to lay those fibers down on the edge. And that additional scratching noise is one of our cats that was in the room with me at the time. I'll let you guys use your imagination on what he was doing. But here we're going to use the different sides of the burnishing tool here. It's just a standard piece of wood that comes with any kind of leather working kit. And it's easier to do this now than when you folded it and stitched it together. Once I've got those edges burnished down, I'm going to use this stitching awl that has kind of a diamond cut to it. Keep this very sharp as well. But I'm going to go ahead and hand punch every one of those in. Now, again, this is a lot of overkill. I mean, it would have been just as easy to hammer my chisel or the pricking irons through, but I wanted to make sure that it went all the way around. So I kind of use the pricking iron just to measure where the holes will go, and then I go back in with this stitching awl to finish them off. Try to keep the angles the same, but again, it's just the details in this build. You can see here, we've got it out on the balcony. I've already added a little bit of stain to it, but I wanted to add some type of an antique finish to this. I thought that would be kind of like, I guess, the ultimate addition. Make it look used and worn. But we're going to also affix a belt loop to this, so we have to measure that out as well. So you can see the color that we've added here, a couple of different layers of a light brown dye that I used an old cotton t-shirt. These are one of my shoe shine rag t-shirts. Before I throw them away, I'm just going to repurpose them as much as possible. And you'll tie these up with some kite string or some thread into these little daubers. It works very good when you're working with leather, or if you're doing any type of accent work on pieces, if you're trying to antique something, or as we're doing here, just trying to give a little bit of a darker color of dye. It will give it kind of like a patina look, and it will make it look older than it actually is. So I want to test this first on the belt loop, because that won't be visible. So if I make a mistake, if I get too much, or if I don't like the color, I can always change that, and it won't really affect the overall look. But you can see here with just a little bit of this denatured alcohol, this wasn't quite 50-50 like the dye that I used for the sheath, but it had a little less denatured alcohol, and I did two steps with that. Again, 50-50 for the brown, and then a little less alcohol until I went to straight brown leather dye. Here I am using an arbor press. I'm pressing in a name here, and I use this name, brown leather. That was my grandfather's name, and this is the original English spelling with an E. It'll focus up here, and I had this made, and it just can kind of pay homage to my grandfather, and he was the first positive male role model in my life. Once I've got that there, I went ahead and taped off the section where I'm going to glue the belt loop, and I scuffed it, but I'm heating up the leather. Again, this might be awkward for some or shocking, but I wanted to heat that up because I had some beeswax that was in hard form, and I didn't want to melt down the entire beeswax and dip this. So I went ahead and heated the outside of the sheath. I'm rubbing this beeswax onto it. It feels almost like a bar of soap, and again, trying to get as much coverage as possible, and this will help kind of lock in and seal in those colors. And again, this is all just for looks, but you can see it's already starting to develop like a patina color to it. And watch what happens when we heat this wax up here in a second. You'll start to see how it really blends those colors in, but also adds a lot of imperfections into the grain. So again, this will look like it's an old, worn, weathered sheath, but it will have all of the benefits of being brand new. So we're going to let that dry a little bit, and then go back in and buff as much of it as we can. You might get some into your pattern or your stitching holes, but don't worry, just keep rubbing it until it is all blended. And you can see that really brought out those dark edges, as well as the antiquing on the sheath itself. I went ahead and added some weeping holes there too. So I'm going to uncover that portion which was set aside for gluing the belt loop. And again, I didn't want to have to attach that to wax. I went ahead and molded that. I added some water to the sheath as well. I've already stitched the belt loop here. I have other leather working videos I'll link here, and you can see how I do belt loops, but it's the same technique, although I had to go a little bit higher. But again, you can see we're almost done. We just need to stitch this together, but we want to get an accurate fit, so that's why I have this wet on the inside, and again you can see those weep holes there, and that'll help out in the future to keep moisture from accumulating inside here. But I've wrapped this knife in a plastic wrap. See, I don't want it to rust. I don't want the water to get to it. And then we'll go ahead and apply those clamps again. The original clamps were just to kind of get a bend to the leather to make this easier, so that I didn't want to snap the grain. Because if you work leather too much, you might put so much strain on the outside that you actually crack the grain, and then it's kind of useless at that point because it's not going to be as strong and durable. That's what happened to the belt loop. That's why I had to use a lot more of it for the piece that's stitched to the back of the sheath. But I'm using popsicle sticks here. Again, I don't want my clamps to leave an indentation or impression in the leather. Again, they're just generic spring-loaded clamps. You can get these at any big box store, cheaper versions. I usually shop the cheaper version because I'm not doing this on an industrial scale, or it's not a profession. This is just a hobby on the side, guys. But I thought, why not put this footage together for you guys? A lot of time I had to go back in and edit this stuff, so it did take a while. But you can see once we've had the leather molded for at least 24 hours, we'll go ahead and remove the clamps, and this almost stays in place by itself. You could probably get away with just gluing it, but why do that? You've gone through all this extra effort to make this as nice as possible, as durable as possible. Why not, again, pay attention to those details and add those as many things as you can, as perfect as you can get it. The striving for perfection is noble, but we must also realize we'll never quite get there. But we should try to do our best in every endeavor, and that's what I try to do on these builds. So you can see here, we're just going to go back through and finish stitching or applying the stitch holes on both sides, because it's going to have to go through that welt and come out the back side. So we're going to go ahead and glue this in place, and then once both sides are affixed together, we will punch through. Now that we have our stitching holes complete, we're going to go ahead and start applying the saddle stitch. There are lots of videos that show people how to do this. You've seen me do it before. We're actually going to use the cast here because we want our stitches to be as close to perfect as possible, and we want to have that slant on both sides. So you'll notice I go through the face side, and then I come back and cast over. And when you pull that tight, you will see how it gives it a little bit of a slant. Notice how the holes are aligned up and away from me. You'll notice I'm opening that hole with the lead needle, and then I'm using the back needle to go right back through the same hole. That back stitching needle, you're going to want to watch this. I'll show you multiple times. It's all about alignment, so you want to make sure that your needle is close to you, that it's in between the needle that we just went through and the hole that was just completed. So as you're working away, again, you want that back needle to line up correctly. If you do not line up the needles correctly, you will not get the exact same slant on the saddle stitch for both sides. Again, we'll apply a few more here, and then you will see an above angle as well from the second camera. And so here we are with the above angle. You can see that needle is close to me. That's an easier way to remember. You just want to put the needle above the lead needle and closest to you. Also notice pushing that through, opening up that hole, there's that needle lined up, it makes a cross, it goes right back through the same hole. You'll notice I'm holding the thread closest to me. I pull it back a little bit just to give it some tension. And here's from the side again. Notice that cast. You have to cast over because that's what will allow the thread to lay down. And again, I won't beat this horse to death. You guys have seen saddle stitching. You've seen my work before. But again, just taking your time, making sure every stitch is exactly the same, will add that extra bit of attention to detail. Again, sometimes it goes unnoticed, but folks that actually do this kind of work, and again, I'm a novice. I've taught myself by watching a lot of great leather workers online, and then just talking to other folks that work with leather. So again, I'm learning this, and again, just remembering things when I was a very small child, watching my grandfather and uncle work with leather. But most of my education, again, has come from watching folks like Nigel Armitage in the UK. Again, there was Leotis Leather, also from the UK. I think there was Schofield as well. That's where I got the black gloves from. I wear these nitrile gloves because it makes it easier to grip the needle. I've put that in a couple of videos before, just adding the text box, but that's why I do it. It's not because it's surgical or I'm dealing with any toxic chemicals. It's just sometimes when you're stitching, the tips of your fingers get rubbed raw. You know, you're grabbing down on these pieces of metal. You're forcing them through multiple layers of leather. Sometimes it can be taxing on your fingertips. I'm not as young as I used to be, and it takes a little while to recover from that. So these gloves make it much easier to stitch, and again, stitch for long periods of time. So you can see here we're going to wrap up stitching. I got that cast over. If you've watched all this, I appreciate it, listening to me as well as watching the video, and I apologize about the focus and autofocus and out of focus. But again, I wanted to get this footage put together. I've had a couple of months where I haven't put a long form video on the channel. So for those of you that subscribed, I appreciate it. Got you some new material here. For those of you that haven't yet subscribed and you like what you are seeing here, please go ahead and like and subscribe on this video. Leave a comment on some things that you might need help on or that you might want to see me build. I'm also building a Mandalorian Mercs costume. It's a cosplay costume, so in the style of Boba Fett, and that's the other videos I have. I also build furniture and fun things for our cats. So yeah, you can see this wobbling camera here. I accidentally hit it with my head, and here we are showing you the burnishing here. Once we stitch it and we've lock those stitches in place, we're going to go back and try to burnish that edge, and you can see the different sizes of, or the different grits of sandpaper that I used, and then finished off with the Tokanola. And then once that's finished off, you can again use the burnishing tool here, and depending on how flat or how rounded you want it, but also how thick your leather is. And I also top this off with a little bit of wax. These were some pieces that I picked up from a supplier online, just because I saw another leather worker using them, and I thought they worked very well. So here's our finished product. You can see, hopefully my coworker enjoys it, and actually he did. When he got it, he just showed it off to everybody, so he was extremely happy. If you stayed with me this long, again, thanks, I appreciate it. Like and subscribe and watch me build some other things, and I appreciate you guys watching.